I painted my pictures on side of trains and I went to prison. Banksy paints his pictures on side of a train or somewhere equally illegal, and it gets protected and it gets sold for millions. So that's the difference between graffiti and street art. Yeah, mate, I don't feel like you can't tell me either. Get told every day that I'm rambling on too much. As an artist, if someone's indifferent about my work and they haven't got an opinion, that's probably worse to me than somebody saying they hated it. You know, at least if somebody tells me they hate it, like, I'm not going to take it personally. Like, they're allowed to hate it, that's fine. And at least they're giving me an opinion and giving me a bit of emotion or whatever. If someone's indifferent to it, then that's probably when I'd start getting self-conscious and like, oh God. But again, it's art, it's subjective, isn't it? So who's to say what's good and what's bad and what we should see and what we shouldn't, you know?
So this is a bit of a post question, it's not like a very interview question.
Yeah, go on.
I'll throw it in there anyway, because it does bring up some interesting things. But where do you think creativity comes from?
Well, I think creativity is in every human, to be honest. And I think you just need to look at children, for example. They're so creative, there's no kind of self-consciousness with what they're creating. So I do think everybody is creative, it just needs kind of nurturing. There's the distinction between being childish and being childlike. They're two different things, and I think it's really important to keep that inner child. Like, when do you stop learning? You know, and then from becoming a parent, I've thought about this quite a lot. So like, when your child's learning to do things, they're using all their senses. They're touching things, they're putting it in their mouth, they're listening to it, they're using all the senses, and then all of a sudden we get to school, it's like sit still and listen, that's the only, and that's like, some people, especially myself, don't learn that way. So I think it's important to hold on to your child and play, because that, again, like, play is the most important way to learn, I think.
What sort of things got your interest to start out?
In terms of my own art, what was the interest in me starting out doing my own art?
Yeah, well, let's answer that one. Like, when was the first time you picked up a pencil then?
I wasn't really into art at all, really. I was more into sport. I think when I started looking at art and making it for myself more seriously, I got a book called Subway Art and Spray Can Art, and I got them when I was about 12 or 13, and then it was like a snowball effect from there for me. I just got absolutely obsessed in graffiti art, but I didn't really engage with school too much, so it was the graffiti art that really like sparked it for me, for sure. Just started off tagging in around 1996 in Bradford, using pens, spray paint when we could get our hands on it. I used to do a lot of skating, so you'd see a lot of graffiti in the skate parks or areas where we were going skating, so that's what probably opened my eyes to it locally. So yeah, around 1996, 97 we did my first piece of graffiti. I'll try use different mediums, I'll try use things that I've never used before, or combine different mediums that I've never combined before and see what I come up with and just play and experiment, and that's when you find little gems of, I don't know, you might just land on something and think, yeah, that I could take that somewhere, and then before you know it, you're onto, yeah, I don't know, something that you wouldn't have expected to be onto, and there's a beauty in that, because it's like, through play, you've kind of discovered something new, and then it's also fun to pursue that and see where it goes. If I'm thinking about personally, the need to create is really strong in me, and I've always wondered what that might be. And there's lots of factors to it, really. So like, some of it might be just, I mean, it certainly helps my own mental health. And some of that might be it's almost like journaling for me, so I can get my thoughts out of my head, which I have a lot of, and I can get them out of my head into a sketchbook or onto the page. But then also the need for, I think being creative gives you it can give you purpose and meaning, and I think in life you need purpose and meaning, or just to have some enjoyment out of life and to give yourself some, because why are we here, what are we doing? Sometimes I'm creating something and I'm thinking, what the fuck am I doing? What am I doing here? Am I doing anything? Like, is this of any importance? But I think it always comes down to giving yourself some meaning and purpose. And I think people who are creative or create things, it does that. When I'm creating, I often get into my flow state, which is a time when things stand still, my thoughts quieten, and hours can pass by. And that's that's something that I crave, and that's something that I strive for every day. The process of doing it is the way you get the enjoyment. So it's not the end product. So it might not be the end of my painting, it might not be the end of your movie. Actually, where the enjoyment and the meaning's coming from, for me, is in the process of doing it.
Social media kind of ruins that a little bit, isn't it? Because the desire to post something is sometimes stronger than the desire to make something. So
exactly, man.
Just kind of ruined it a little bit.
It has, yeah, man. And then that stuff can be contrived, and then you're then creating from the wrong place. I make my best work when I'm making it just for me, and I'm not thinking about anyone else's opinion, and that's where your true work comes from, I think.
What do you think is the main thing that makes you want to get up on a morning? What is it that makes you tick to do?
I mean, again, depending on when you'd have asked me that question, there'd be very different answers. But I mean, obviously my daughter is number one. Everything, and as much as I can talk about my artwork, my daughter would be the number one there. She also chooses what time I get up in the morning, so I've got no choice there, man. But then, my daughter aside, what you were talking about, that little spark or that little thing inside me with thy need to create something, I'll usually have an agenda of what I'm wanting to go and work on that day. So when I wake up, that's always the first thought in my mind after my daughter. I did graffiti for so many years, and I never even considered a different kind of path in art. So then all of this, what I'm doing now, still feels really new to me, and so the excitement of learning. I think when my daughter was first born, I wasn't getting as much time for my practice, so I was having to change what I was making. So if I only got out here for an hour on a night, I started making a lot of abstract work and work that I could make in one session, start to finish. I had a lot of time where I could sit and draw, which was something I could do sat on the sofa in house. So I took it back to, I'm just going to spend these first couple of years just honing my skills in drawing. So then when it's come to making this new series of work that I've been working on, I started the work with an abstract painting, and then I've left them with a lot more drawing going on. I think also, again, time's a lot more precious to me now, and it made me think, fuck, sorry, I shouldn't swear, should I? I definitely had a feeling of, God, I've procrastinated and I've wasted a lot of time over the years, and now my time's so precious to me. When I do get an hour in here, I'm so much more productive, and I've been more productive since becoming a parent than before, I think, yeah.
We'll talk about murals, but if you do want to talk about other stuff, don't feel...
Yeah. No. Well, the mural stuff overlaps with the graffiti stuff, it's... Because sometimes I might just get a mural to paint that is just graffiti, but it's still a mural. What defines a mural, you know what I mean? I'm proud of a lot of my graffiti work that I did, but that would be for very different reasons to being proud of the mural work that I now do. I don't know if you want it on camera, but if I'm being totally honest about my spray painting work, The work I would probably be most proud of was the graffiti side of stuff, when I'd done like whole trains. So basically when I painted graffiti, it was pretty much predominantly just on trains. So that was every car, top to bottom, full train. So then actually when you said what am I most proud of, that actually sprung to mind, to be honest. But then there's lots of different reasons, you know. I'm proud of a lot of the community stuff that I now do. That feels like a different world. Like what I'm doing now, I get to work on a lot of community projects, which brightens up the area. We work with local shops, we work with loads of shop owners, local residents, and I mean, some of those can, you know, I can feel a real proudness doing that. I recently worked on a project in Bradford. I worked on a couple actually. I worked on one in Manningham and I worked on one at Homewood area, which are both areas that seem to be the best area and in need of some regeneration. So I did a couple of projects working in both those areas and seeing the impact that's had on locals and the local area. Again, yeah, there was that, you know, that makes you feel proud as well for different reasons, like less of a personal reason, you know. It's nice to see people enjoying the work you've done and then enjoying or using a space that was neglected or whatever. So yeah, that makes me proud as well.
We're almost at the end of my questioning, and these are the old big questions that we sort of end with. But like, where do you see your future then? Like, and I guess you can either answer this in like near future, what's like next steps, or you know, what's sort of like.
So going forward, I'd like to just be painting my murals in my own style and people coming specifically to me and letting me do my own thing. My real love these days is my studio practice, so it's the portraiture and the oil painting, which I've fallen in love with. And I've kind of got quite a different style in that. So I think going forward, I'd like to combine the two a lot more and hopefully get to be doing some of my kind of figurative stuff, like what's like my fine art. I'd like to be doing that large scale as murals in the same style and kind of bring the two together. I mean, genuinely, my dream would be just to be able to be comfortable enough to make art every day for my own mental health. That would be my dream. If I can support my family and my lifestyle by doing something I love, that's the dream for me, and I'm fortunately enough to be doing it. More specifically, I want to have my work in the National Portrait Gallery. So yeah, that would be my dream for sure. I'm not sure really, but yeah, we'll just see what happens. Trust the process.
Now that's the cut. That's the cut. I like that. See what happens.